Bible is one of those books, it seems to me, where people are more likely to read the first page than all the way through, which is good because the first page is as far as you need to go in this regard. There you find the story of God creating this beautiful world and pronouncing it good, producing the list of creatures, pronouncing them all good, and then telling us that we were in charge of making sure that it stayed good. And that's the first charge humans are given in the Bible, and it may be the one we've done the worst job at, given that we've overseen the destruction of thousands of species, and that we're now warming the temperature of the earth. If that injunction in the Old Testament isn't enough, look, we come to the core of the gospel and its command that we love our neighbors. In this moment in time, we're drowning our neighbors, making our neighbors sick, making it impossible for them to grow food. There's nothing that we have ever done to the poor and vulnerable on this planet that quite matches the impact of taking away the physical stability on which the lives of billions of people depend. And so Old Testament or New, Hebrew Bible or Gospel, it's pretty clear that this should be a core job for all of us, making sure that the creation we're given isn't left in tatters. Let me talk to you about the story from the Bible that I think is most apropos of all here, and the one that I've written about most, which is the book of Job in the Hebrew Bible. And you'll remember the story. Job finds himself living on a dung heap at the edge of town, his flocks dead, his body covered with oozing sores. He demands an interview with God. This falls under the category of be careful what you wish for, because God does indeed appear, speaking out of a tornado, a whirlwind, and delivers, I think, the longest soliloquy that God delivers anywhere in the Bible, Old Testament or New. And it's a very curious speech. It's very beautiful, a tour of the natural world and all its myriad creations, but it's also very sarcastic and taunting. Job, tell me if you're so smart, where do I keep the storms? Can you whistle up a blizzard? Can you tell the proud waves, here you shall break and no further? And Job, of course, after 3 chapters of this, basically just says, sorry, I asked, can I sit down now? And that's how humans have always been in relation to the larger natural world and to the deity, until very recently, when we grew suddenly in size. Now, our first realization of that probably came with the explosion of the atom bombs at Alamogordo in the New Mexican desert. It was Oppenheimer watching that, who quoted from the Hindu scriptures, the Gita, and said, we are become as gods, destroyers of worlds. But we've backed away, thank heaven, from that power. What we wouldn't bring ourselves to understand was that the explosion of billions of pistons in billions of cylinders every second of every minute of every day would accomplish the same thing as those mushroom clouds, that it was big enough to melt the ice caps or whatever. And now we must reckon with the fact that, when Job asks us, we can taunt God right back, spit in God's face, say, yeah, no, and we're the ones who set the boundaries for the oceans, decide how high the seas are going to rise, how big the storms are going to get. So I think the climate crisis represents also a kind of deep theological problem for humans' understanding of who they are in relation to the divine. And we're casting a very large shadow, and it seems like it would be a good idea to try and get a little smaller. We didn't worry theologically much about the human relationship with the natural world for a very long time. In fact, 30 years ago, liberal churches thought of the environment as something you would get to after you dealt with war and poverty. And conservative churches thought of environmentalism as some kind of way station on the road to paganism. And the reason that we didn't think about it very much was because most of the drama over human history has been between human beings. One group of them or another, one individual or another. That's where the fights have broken out. The natural world has been a stable backdrop against which this drama is played out. But now the backdrops become foreground. And so it's very important that we're recovering the theological resources to understand that there's been, as if in a time capsule, all kinds of scriptural understanding to help us in this hour of greatest peril.